Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Sid. How are you?
Very good. How was the swing feeling this week?
Well, I was scheduled to play golf. It's 9 o'clock here in the morning. I was
Hmm.
scheduled to play golf at 1 o'clock today with my friends, and it's raining, and it's kind
Oh,
of cold, so we're not playing. I canceled our FIFA. So my swing is not going to get used today, but we'll play again, try again on Saturday. And
yeah.
it's been pretty good though for an old guy.
I love that. You once said golf doesn't have to be mysterious. When you understand your numbers, you take control of your game. That's something I think many players need to hear.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who haven't played the game of golf don't realize that putting is actually as much as 50% of the score. But I don't know anybody that plays the game of golf that practices putting 50% of the time. And the mysterious nature of golf is there's 18 holes of golf and 36 strokes are happen on the course, and normally 36 strokes occur on putting green. That's if you play regulation par golf. And so one should pay more attention to putting, but they don't. And I think that's kind of part of the mysterious nature of golf is there's too much emphasis placed on the other 13 clubs instead of the putter that's half of the game. So that's why I think putting is so important.
All right, let's dig into it and see how you broke the putting code. Following is a conversation with Bob Labbe, an engineering turned golf performance innovator and author of Putting by the Numbers. This is Pre-Zero Sports Talk podcast, and I'm your host, Sid Bansala. Today, we delve into how science, structure, and simplicity can unlock consistency on the green and lower your golf scores without gimmicks. To support our show, please check the episode description. Bob, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today.
Well, Seth, I appreciate you having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. You've used your engineering background to solve one of golf's most frustrating problems, long distance putting. What I love is that this isn't about swing adjustment or buying new equipment. It's about math, mindset, and muscle memory. So let's rewind. What prompted you, Bob, after retiring to not just pick up golf, but become obsessed with solving the lag putting problem?
Well, Seth, that's a good question, Sid. I was a businessman, and I had three different air pollution control businesses. And as we earlier talked, golf, if you play 18 holes of golf, it normally takes about 4.5 hours. And
Mhm.
that's a lot of time. Okay. So my mindset when I was through my career from my 20s on to my 70s, when I finally retired, was that took up too much time when you're in business to be able to do. I always loved the game of golf. I watched golf with my dad back in the 60s. And we loved watching Nicklaus and Palmer go at it. And it was just a fun thing. And every once in a while I'd go out with my dad and play golf, but I was never a golfer. Okay. I'm kind of athletic. But when I retired, the
Like we say in
sec-
our business, sorry to cut you, you didn't get the virus.
yes, I didn't get the virus. That's right.
Because when you do, there is no antidote.
Yeah, that's right. Well, when I retired from my second company in 1997, 1996,
Mhm.
1997, my partner, John Halligan, and I agreed that we both loved the game of golf, but we never could play because we were too busy in the business. So we decided together that we would join a country club and we would play golf together. So I went off and took lessons at Maggie Billy, North Carolina, PGA school, and I learned all the strokes of the game from the tee box, the greens, the fairways, the bunkers, all the various shots with the 13 clubs in the 14 club bag. The club that is probably the most important in the game, however, is the putter.
Hmm.
And that's where I kind of failed to achieve. I achieved the game pretty good with the
Right.
13 clubs, but the putter was giving me a lot of trouble with long distance putting. And being an engineer, I knew I had to solve that problem. I was shooting in the mid to high 90s, but I was playing the rest of the game like I should be shooting in the 80s.
Hmm.
And it was because I was getting 40 to 44 putts around. So I had to find a solution to the problem. And that's why the book came about after 25 years of practicing it.
Yeah, yeah. So again, for our listeners, just to simplify it, you describe 3 and 4 putting as what wrecked your scores. So what was the moment you knew I need to fix this?
Well, after playing the game for about a year in 1996, 97, and seeing that, hey, I was playing the rest of the game pretty good, except my
Mm.
putting I was putting 3 and 4 putting the greens, and only because I didn't have a very good judgment of how hard to hit the ball when I was long distances away. And so I would either baby it or I'd muscle up on it. It'd
Hmm.
either be too short or too long. And it would always cause me to free putt. And that's what caused me to say, hey, there has to be a solution to this problem. And then I was watching golf on Sunday, and they were talking about the stimp meter and Edward Stimpson.
Hmm.
Developed the stimp meter in 1935 after the U.S. Open at Oakmont, and it's in
1935.
1935.
Right.
Yes, and so I thought, well, that is pretty interesting because it's simply a tube with a notch in it, and you lift the tube up until the ball rolls off and it rolls onto the green. And
Hmm.
you do that with 3 balls. And if 3 balls lie within 2 feet of each other, then the average of those 3 balls creates the speed of the green for the day. And, and of course, in that approach, greens for pros that are on the PGA Tour are normally around 12, 13, or 14. That's very, very fast.
Yeah.
For amateurs like us, like me, greens I play on are varied from about 9 to 11. Okay.
Hmm.
And so I thought, well, gosh, if you could have a qualitative assessment of the speed of the green that the stent meter provides, then there has to be a quantitative approach to this. And that's what started me on my journey.
Right. Right. Bob, we all get, or most of us, that are trying to improve, our game, or even if we are practicing sport and we are using a tool, it could be a vehicle, could be a boat, could be a bicycle or whatever. We get frustrated because the body is there, the mind is there, but something is missing. But in your case, Bob, what was your mindset like when the rest of your game was solid, but the putting wasn't?
Well, I became very frustrated. Okay.
Mm.
And I, I, I said to myself, well, if you can't putt any better than you're putting, then you might as well go ahead and give up the game. And I wasn't willing to do that because, I just, after being in business and being 52 years old, I wanted to play golf.
Right,
Okay. And I knew necessity is the mother of invention. Okay.
right.
And I had a need and I had to solve the problem. And that's what engineers do. And that's
Mhm.
what I set out to do.
Yeah. And for sure, you don't get it right the first trial. So, what was the first attempt at fixing lag padding?
Well, thinking about what Edward Stimpson did with the stent meter got me into thinking, hey, the event of putting is a forced friction action. Okay.
Mhm.
You create a force by hitting the ball with your putter, the green, the friend, the fairway, and the first cut or rough. If you were to use your putter on those surfaces, they all have a different frictional coefficient.
Right.
Okay. So I thought to myself, well, if I had a method to know how to quantitatively retract my putter a given distance to hit the ball for these various frictional surfaces, then that would create a method that would be repeatable.
Mhm.
And that was my premise. Okay, that might have been what we might say my hypothesis. I believe that if I could take my putter and retract it a given distance for various lengths of travel, that I could actually make a quantitative method work. And so that was my hypothesis. And then I had to work on that to get to a conclusion. But in order to, it took me so many years to write the book, which I wrote in 2021 and 2022, um, because I had to be sure that anything I put in print was accurate,
Accurate.
reproducible, repeatable, and
Mhm.
something I could share with the world. But it took me 25 years and a couple hundred notes I kept stuffing in my golf bag after I played, taking notes on what happened here and there. And I took all those notes out of my golf bag in
Mhm.
2021 and started writing my book.
Right. So basically, from a timeline standpoint, from a problem, identifying a problem, having an idea, trying that idea, and all the trials. So it took you 25 years.
It took me 25 years to be sure that what I put in print is something I knew that was accurate and true, and what I would share with the rest of the recreational and amateur
Mhm.
golfers and the professionals is something that they could use themselves and would improve their golf game.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that, and I know it works because
Mhm.
I've had many friends and competitors use this method now, and they've improved their golf game
Mhm.
immensely.
Yeah. Yeah. For folks out there, for sure, one of them will say, how come no one has thought about this or flagged it and stuff like that? But in your case, Bob, if you can simplify it for our listeners, how did your engineering background help you see putting differently?
Well, I'm a graduate engineer from Georgia Tech, and
Mhm.
I um, I did very well in physics and engineering mechanics. And there's three aspects of physics: is mechanics, electrical, heat, light, and sound. And I loved all three of those subjects. And then there's engineering mechanics, which has a separate statics and dynamics. Well, I did all well in all of those courses, and I thought, well, I ought to be able to implement a method that would work on the golf course that would help me with my game, and that's how I got started doing this, um, and that's the very beginning. And of course, when you start out with something like this, Bryson DeChambeau, who's on the PGA Tour now, he is a very quantitative guy too. Now, I don't know what his methodology is
Mhm.
with regard to putting, but I watch him on the television, and he seems to do similar things to what I do. Now, whether he's read my book or he's created his own methods, I don't know.
We need to
But
ask. We need to ask him. Yeah.
yeah, well, I would be quite presumptuous to try to talk to a PGA pro about putting because they're also very good.
Yeah. And Bob, how do you explain the power factor in layman's terms?
Well, in layman's terms, I say, okay, everybody has a similar setup to putting a golf ball, and
Mhm.
they teach you if you go to school, they teach you that you set your hands a certain way on the golf club, and then you put the ball off the left toe of your big toe of your left foot if you're right-handed, and you open your stance and you put your weight on your left foot. Now,
Right.
if you're left-handed, it's just the opposite. So you have some basics set up, all right, and then to move closer into technique. Everybody has their own technique of putting, so I'm not trying to change anybody's approach to putting. All
Mhm.
I'm trying to say is you have a individual power factor when you rock your shoulders and move the putter through the ball. And I don't want you to muscle up. I don't want you to baby it. I just want you to use your standard motion of what's comfortable for you. That's what your individual power factor is, as I define
Right,
it. And
right.
everybody's different. I putt greens. My individual power factor for most greens that I play on is 20 feet per inch of retraction. My wife's is 13 feet per inch of retraction.
Mm.
So everybody has a different power factor, and that's what you got to practice to perfect this method. So it works for you.
Right, right. What's the core metric that golfers can control in your system?
Well, they can control they can control their distance of putting by being able to apply a given force to the golf ball by retracting their putter in English terms, inches, or in
Mhm.
metric terms, centimeters. By retracting a certain distance and using rocking their shoulders and stroking through the ball, they'll get a travel distance for a given retraction distance. And that's what I call the individual power factor. And the retraction distance is something you have to take and visualize up from 0 to 12 inches or from 0 to 30 centimeters in increments of inches or centimeters to be able to apply this method.
Right. We spoke about it during our intro chat, and I found it really fascinating, especially this aspect or the topic we're going to talk about, which is arithmetic. So, why does using basic arithmetic work better than feeling?
Well, there are some people that are, I'm a pretty decent athlete myself, but
Mm.
I used to be anyway. I'm pretty old now, so I'm probably not a very good athlete at this point in life. But um, some people are very athletic, and they putt by this feely touchy method, which is a kind of a natural ability for athletic people. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of people, most people that play golf are not super athletic. They could be like me, average athletes, and have some hand-eye coordination. That's always good when you're playing golf. But this method of quantitative putting allows anybody to use simple arithmetic. I knew that when I wrote this book about science and physics, I couldn't have something that was complicated to figure out on the golf course. It's got to be simple. So it had
Right.
to be an arithmetic. It had to be arithmetic. It had to be something like how many cans of beans are there for $1? 3 cans of beans for $1. Had to be something simple you had to do on the golf course. And if you could do something in simple on the golf course, they would vastly improve your putting and your score. Then everybody would love to do it. And
Hmm.
that was my premise. And
Right.
that's what I've created. Something simple.
Hmm. So, you said earlier it took you 25 years to to put the book together, or maybe take the decision. Okay, it's time now to write the book. But
Well, I
exactly,
think yeah, go ahead. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
But exactly at what point did you realize that your method needed to become a book?
Well, I along the way from 1997 through 2021, I had several of my friends and competitors see me do what I was doing on the golf course. And the first one, Mike Beck,
Mhm.
who's a very good golfer who lives up in Akron, Ohio. We were playing the RT Jones courses down in Alabama. We were on the Senators course, and I had hit my ball on the back of a three-tier green, and I was 93 feet away from the hole. And I stepped off the putt, and I looked at it, and I stroked the ball with a given retraction of my putter, and I hit the ball. It went down tier one, tier two, it went in the hole. Well, Mike was watching me, and he said, "Now this is like 1999. I've only been doing this for a couple of years." And I said, "Well, that was lucky, wasn't it?" He said, "No, no, Bob." He said, "I saw what you did, and you knew exactly what to do with your putter, and you
Right.
put it in the hole. You need to write a book." Well, that was the first person that said to me, "You need to write a book." Well,
So
along the
shout out to
way,
Mike.
Mike's a great golfer. He's a single handicapper, and he's been a great golfer, and he
Right.
uses my method. And Doug Rugg,
Fantastic.
who won a couple of Portage championships, he uses my method too. But they were very good golfers. Any skill level golfer, whether you're a good golfer or a struggling golfer, can use my method to improve their putting, and that's what's cool about it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The process of writing the book, so was it easy to gather all your notes for 25 plus years and then go through all those notes and start the writing process? And was it straightforward task, or it took a bit of time to do it?
Well, humanity's basically lazy, and I'm no different than every other humanoid on the planet. But I did create all these notes, and I had stuffed them in my golf, and I had them on my bookcase.
Yeah.
And I when COVID came, I came down to my office and I started sorting them out, and I started thinking about writing the book. And I thought, well, how would I write the book? And I thought, well, you've got to have, who, how, where, when, and why do you do this? And you go to my book, those are kind of the entitlements of each chapter. Okay. So I broke the book down into these areas. Now, I had never written a book before in my life, but through my engineering career, I wrote numerous technical papers and proposals, very, very different. So I was used to writing, but nothing of like a book before. So it was quite a experience for me. So I started out separating all these notes in 2019, and I put them in each envelope of each compartment. I put whether it qualified as who or why or when or where, and that's how I began the process of separating the book into categories that I would write chapters to.
Yeah. What was the hardest part about making something technical accessible for average players?
Well, you know, force friction is not a terribly complicated subject,
Mhm.
but it is scientific, and so to take the formula force friction and put it into simple arithmetic terms, that was the most difficult part of the process. And so what I had to do was I'm not going to talk about the coefficient of friction and the various frictional um, nomenclature. What I'm going to talk about is something that everybody can understand, and
Right.
and that's how I got this started. And so I knew that if I said, okay, you got a refractor putter so many centimeters, so many inches to have the ball travel so many feet or meters, they would get that. And now I got to put it in arithmetic terms that anybody can do it, and that's what the book's all about.
Mhm. Did you ever doubt whether people will take this seriously?
Well, yeah, I did. I mean, nobody. I'm not that super. I'm a confident guy, but I didn't know how people would take to this. But we've sold several thousand books now all over the world now, and I'm getting a lot of feedback that, hey, thanks for helping me with this putting sort of thing. And so it's kind of my whole objective in doing this book and publishing it is
Mm.
to let the world know that there is a quantitative way to putt to improve your golf game. And if you're good at the rest of the game, you're going to love this because you're going to get really good at this. And then you're going to turn from an average golfer into a really good golfer. And
Right.
that's what happened to me because I'm a 7 handicap now.
Well done. Wow. Wow. I told you earlier, still, I'm not hooked to the sport, but at some point I will start. So maybe I don't want to try to find the shortcut, whatever, or try to blame it on my age or, but I will take your experience and I will definitely get the book and hopefully it will help me to because we all have this competitive mindset in us. So either we are a novice or intermediate, or so we want to do better. So yeah, yeah. Let's shift gear, Bob, and let's talk stories. Tell us
Okay.
about Doug Ula and how he cut down from 40 putts to winning two club titles.
Well, Doug was never a 40 putter, but Doug was always a good golf.
Mm,
Okay. And I played with Doug and Mike Beck, both going to Scotland and playing 10 courses with them in Scotland in 1998. And then we played the RT Jones courses in Alabama. Both Doug and Mike Beck were single handicap golfers, but where their where their game was weaker was in long distance putting.
right.
And so they were, although they would, they putt, the average professional golfer's target is to putt 28 putts per round. Last year, I putted 30.5 putts per round, which is pretty good for an amateur. That's what Doug Regula, they're both virtually scratch golfers now. And Doug Regula won both the championship at Portage Country Club for the regular men's tour and for the senior men's tour. And he utilizes my golf method. And he's been doing it for years because he he understands the method and he employed it in his game. And whereas he might have been hitting 32, 34 putts, I'm sure Doug is putting in the 28 to 32 putts per round range now. And that's what allowed him to win those championships.
Have you had resistance from traditional golf coaches?
I haven't. No, I was member at both Meadowbrook Country Club and uh, the country club over in Eureka, Missouri, and I've given the books to the pros there, and they've taken pictures with the boat. But golf pros they've gone through a lot of schooling, and they have their own approach to the game of golf, and I'm not sure everybody who's a professional golfer or a professional teaching golfer would necessarily adopt my method because most of these people are pretty good athletes and they got that feely, touchy know-how to putt that ball. So I don't know that how many people that are really professional golfers are going to take my method, except for a guy like Bryson DeChambeau. I think he uses the same sort of methodology that I use. And if you watch him on TV on Sundays, you'll note what he does. He's very quantitative.
Well, you make it clear that no new equipment, no swing changes. Um, why was that essential to your method?
Well, I don't know. I didn't set out with the idea that I was not going to have any equipment. It just so happened because
Mm,
um, you don't have to do anything to your uh, equipment or the mannerism in which you putt the ball or how you putt the ball. And that's a kind of a byproduct advantage to this method is that you don't have to buy anything new. You can go. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to buy my book. My two tutorials, they're attached to the book. One's a 10-minute in-home practice video, and the other's a
mm,
23-minute on-course video. You can just look at my videos, and if you grasp enough from my videos, you don't need to buy my book. But I would tell you for $5 or $10 or whatever they're selling it for on Amazon or on my website, it's worth your $5 or $10 investment to find out the details.
yeah,
And the details are in my book.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that my objective wasn't to set out to not have to buy or do things, but This is the most cost effective method on the planet to improve your golf game without buying anything but a little book.
Yeah. For sure, you've spoken to so many golfers throughout the years. What do they get wrong when trying to fix their putting with the gadgets?
Well, and there's a lot of you hit the point on it. There's a lot of gadgets out there.
Yeah.
I think all golfers get caught up into the new technology and new inventions of new apparatus and such as that. And I have to be the first to admit that I was using my Ping Zing clubs from 1996 until my wife insisted back 2 years ago that I buy a new set of clubs, because as I've gotten older, my distance with my clubs was getting shorter per club. So, I told my wife, I said, no, it's not the clubs, it's the club E that creates the quality of the game. And she said, no. She says there's new technology out there. And I said, so I broke down 2 Christmases ago and bought a new set of clubs. And I got to tell you, this new technology for clubs is real. I was hitting my 7-iron with my Ping Zings 125 to 130 yards. And with my new Callaway's 7-iron, I hit it between 145 and 150. And that's true of every new club in my bag. I'm hitting every club in my bag 20 to 25 yards further because of the technology.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to putting, there's all mannerisms of putting tees down and various obstructions and approaches to putting. And I would not tell anybody, hey, if you think that'll help you, go for it. I mean, anything that golfers will buy anything to improve their game.
Yeah.
Because game, as you know, golf is a very frustrating game.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to solve the problem of how to hit the ball, how to putt the ball, and we're all willing to spend a few bucks on trying to prove our game. And from my perspective, now that I'm absolutely sure that my method works for everybody, I think my method's the most cost-effective way you can improve your game. It's the truth, because all you got to do is buy a book.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I need to start and to try your method and your system, can I start from my backyard or home setup?
Well, yeah, you can. As a matter of fact, in the winter here, I live in a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri, Baldwin, and I have a outdoor carpet in my basement, and I've got about 50 foot of travel that you can hit a golf ball. And that's what I do in the winter when I'm here in the winter. I practice hitting golf balls on my indoor art carpet.
Yeah.
And I know, see, my indoor art carpet for my individual power factor, the travel distance is 11 feet for 1 inch of refraction. So I can hit my golf ball in my basement 33 feet with 3 inches of refraction. And I do that. I take 3 golf balls, and that's how I practice my game. I can do up to 4 inches, 44 feet, because of the distance available in my basement. And yes, you can do it in your home through the whole winter months.
Right.
What I do when spring comes, I go out on the golf course, the practice range, and practice on the practice putting green, the fringe, and the fairway, and the first cut of rough before I take it to the course. And I always go, when I'm playing golf, I always go to the golf course 30 minutes before I play. And the first thing I do is practice putting for 15 minutes using my method. And then if I have available time, I go to the range and hit a few clubs, and off I go. And when I write down, for instance, if I go to a golf club and play golf, I find out if my individual power factor gives me 20 feet of travel for 1 inch of 1 inch of refraction on my putter, I write that down on my scorecard, and then I check it out for the fringe and the fairway. And normally speaking, for the hard courses I play, in my individual power factor, I get 20 feet per inch on the green, 7 feet per inch on the fringe in the fairway, and about 2.5 feet for the first cut of rough. That's for my individual power factor, and that's what I recommend people to do, is practice similarity, because sometimes you hit the ball and you're in the first cut of rough, but you're so close to the green, you can still use your putter, and the putter
Right.
is a lot more accurate than, or particularly the putter is a lot more accurate for amateurs that don't play every day like the pros, because you can hit the ball much more confidently with the putter.
Right, right. You recommend 30-minute practice sessions 3 times a week. Why that model?
Well, that's what works for me, and I do that myself when the winter months get so cold you can't play golf. Um, I practice in my basement 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Okay, and in doing so, I kind of said, okay, that has worked for me nicely, and so I recommend that people try, if they try my method, to try it putting 30 minutes a day for 3 times a week, and do that for 6 weeks,
Hmm.
and then take it to the golf course and see how that works for you.
Right.
And you'll find out. Now, I'm not saying that 100% of the people that try my method are going to be able to use it effectively, but I've had a very promising results. I would say 80 to 90% of the people that have tried my method adopted as their method of putting for long distances.
Mhm.
And what is really cool about my method, if you become a good long distance putter with my method, my method says, hey, get the ball within 3 to 5 feet of the cup with your long distance putt. And then all you have to do from then on is practice putts between 3 and 5 feet so that you two putt every green. And then you'll be a really good putter because you'll score 36 putts around.
And what's the learning curve like? Is it steep at first or intuitive once you start?
Well, um, I guess it depends on your inherent athletic ability.
Mm.
If you have no athletic ability, you might find it difficult to climb that learning curve. If you are inherently athletic, I think the learning curve will be much shallower and you'll achieve results rather quickly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it depends on the individual, but I think every individual, regardless of the athletic skill, within 6 weeks of trying the method 3 times a week for 30 minutes, you'll know at the end of the 6 weeks if the method works for you and if it's right for you.
Yeah, yeah. You emphasize, Bob, that your system works worldwide. How is that possible with so many green types and climates?
Well, most of the greens in the United States, at least um, in the Midwest and northern part of the United States, have bent grass greens, and bent grass greens don't have any grain fill. Okay, and 90% of the courses in the United States have bent grass greens. Now, when you go into the South, into Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, you run into Bermuda greens, and Bermuda grass has grain to it. And I covered that in my book about what adjustments you make if you're putting against the grain on Bermuda grass. And there's Pollyanna grass out in California, and it has not a grainy surface, but it has a random surface that
Yeah.
I play golf in California too, and I have adjustments for that as well.
Yeah, because in some surfers the ball gets slower or faster, and then you have to adapt or adjust based on that.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I play golf courses in the United States and Canada and Mexico and in Scotland and Ireland, and
Mhm.
I've used my method successfully. I played the St. Andrews Old Course, and the greens are very fast. Okay,
Yeah,
and and the grass is very, 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 very short and fine and low. So the greens over at St. Andrews or any of the golf courses in Ireland and Scotland, the greens are usually pretty fast. And but that's what's the beauty of my method is because with very fast greens, you go to the course, you
Mhm.
practice the method on the practice green, you see what the travel distance is or the fraction of the putter, and then you write that on your scorecard, and you can go to any course anywhere in the world. Do what I say. Try practice 30 to 15 minutes on the practice green. Then you pick the game by writing on your scorecard distance for green, distance for fringe, distance for fairway, and distance to first get a right. And you apply that when you play the course. And you can play any course in the world almost as good as you play your home course.
Mhm.
That's what really is so cool about my method.
Yeah. I need to ask you, Bob. The sports of golf really fascinate me. I've been following my favorite golfers, and I mean, there is so many good golfers, and not only the men's, even the ladies. But I need
Mhm.
to ask you, what does it truly take to become a great golfer? Not just technically, but mentally, emotionally, and sometimes spiritually.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent question, and it's a difficult question. But I think everybody that becomes a really good golfer has the ability to totally focus, regardless of where you are on the golf course, whatever problem presents itself to you, is your ability to be intense and to focus on the problem before you, and to have a quiet mind, and don't let the noise around you interfere with what you have to do. And I think that's true of the PGA golfers with all the fans out there yelling and screaming. They have to have such a sense of, of focus and quiet mind to use their natural ability to stroke the ball, unlike the rest of the players in the world. And
Mm.
that I think is the key. The key, like I don't play. I see a lot of players practicing playing music headsets on their
Right.
thing, and that's maybe their quiet world.
True.
My quiet world is silence. Everything I practice, I have to be try to find as much silence as possible.
Mm.
But then I have a quiet mind when I'm trying to do something. I focus, focus, focus.
Yeah. Yeah. And is greatness in golf more about mechanics or mindset or both?
Well, I think you hit it's both. It's you got to get to have the right mechanic, you got to have the right mindset, and you got to have that confidence and focus. And if you have the other skill sets that go along with confidence and focus, you're going to be a great golfer.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah. Why do golfers resist structured approach to putting?
Well, I'm not sure I really can answer that question because
Mm.
I think that people will read my book are looking for an answer. If their long distance
Right.
putting isn't
Yeah.
good, they're looking for an answer. And if they pick up and read my book, then that tells me that they're willing to accept change.
Hmm.
And human beings hate change. We
Yeah.
don't. We like to be in routine. But I think that people who that are receptive to the thinking quantitatively will do better if
Mhm.
their game of putting is not good and they got an open mind. It's worth a try.
In sports, Bob, and you know it, it's almost impossible to avoid injury.
Right.
Depend which level you are, but every time you try to push and keep pushing and push the bar and stuff like that, and you will get injured. So it doesn't matter how well you are prepared. And the issue when you get injured sometimes depend how long it take uh, to get back. quite often you lose confidence, and you try to build that confidence. It's all mental work and things like that, and every person has, he or she, various methods to build that confidence. Now my question to you, and hearing you, golf, it's not an easy sport. You get frustrated all the time. I mean, I see it with my friends and my colleagues, that good golfers, they're always trying to find what can I do to improve? How can I perform better? What can I change? What can I, it's questioning. It doesn't stop. But coming back from an injury, or put it this way, if you want to regain a confidence within the game, do you believe your system can help?
Yeah, I think my system as totally related to putting on or around the green
Mm,
is a mechanical approach to a quantitative method of putting. And you know, when I was a young man and I separated my shoulder my young year of high school playing football,
mm,
I was never able to recover from that injury because it was a really severe shoulder separation.
right.
It's been a it's weakened my shoulder my entire life. So unless you have an injury that's so debilitating that you can no longer use the putter uh, in a normal fashion, then I don't think an injury is going to affect you in the putting portion of the game, which is 50% of the game of golf. Now, if you have a severe injury, using the rest of the clubs might be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Clear. Yeah. Okay. So you built a system, a book, and now a legacy. What's been the most rewarding part, Bob?
Well, knowing knowing that people are interested in picking up my book and giving my book a read and at least understanding that there is a quantitative method of putt. It's not a guessing game anymore. It's not a feely touchy game anymore. It's an arithmetic calculated game that provides a great deal of confidence. See, when I go up and hit a ball towards the green these days, if I'm 10 feet off the green, I know when I'm driving up in my cart exactly what I'm going to do when I get there. I have total confidence about the next. Golf's always about the next stroke, whether it's a drive, a fairway shot, or whatever. It's always about the next shot. And so when you can go and drive up to your ball having a plan of what you're going to do, and I have a plan and I execute that plan. And executing the plan is always important in every stroke of the game, but most importantly in putting.
Yeah, yeah. What do you hope players walk away with beyond lower scores?
Well, I hope that they walk away with a sense of confidence. As I say, putting can be almost half the game of golf. And if they walk away from reading this book and applying it in their game, I hope they have a new sense of confidence that when they go to the golf course, that the real challenges are not with putting anymore. It's with the rest of their clubs. And and I know that if they feel confidence in putting with their putter, their score will vastly improve.
Mm. And on that, if someone listening is struggling with anything in life, what lesson from your journey would you want them to take?
Well, I think golf is probably the most honest and honorable game on the planet, as well as maybe the most difficult game. Okay.
Yeah.
And when it's a game between you and the golf course. You have no other problems that are facing you, but it's a game between you and the golf course. And when you have to, in an honorable fashion, call a penalty on yourself because of your integrity and honesty, there's no other game that's played on the planet that requires that. And that's what I take away from golf is, for example, if my ball moves when I'm addressing it, I must call a one-stroke penalty on myself.
Okay.
No other game, no other game that you play in the world requires you to call a penalty on yourself. And that's what I call integrity, honesty, and being an honorable man.
Thank you. Thank you. You're listening to the Pre-Zero Sports Talk. For more conversations on sports leadership, faith, performance, and innovation from Sweden to the world, visit prezerosportstalk.com. Bob, now it's time for our lightning round. Ready for speedy Q&A?
Sure.
Let's do this. Coffee, tea, or something else?
I have 2 cups of coffee in the morning and drink 2 cups or 2 glasses of iced tea in the afternoon.
That's okay. Yeah. Early bird or a night owl?
Early bird. No, I
Early
don't
bird.
stay up late anymore. I'm up around 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm in bed between 9:30 and 10:30 at night.
Great. Favorite golf course you've ever played?
You know, I had to think about that because I played a lot of wonderful courses from Pebble Beach to the old course and
Yeah.
all that.
But you
But I
need to
got to
pick
tell,
one. For sure, you have a favorite one.
I have a favorite one, and I'm going to tell you why. My wife and I go down to the Lake of the Ozarks in June and October every
Mhm,
year, and we play in the couple scramble. Okay,
mhm.
and this particular course, Lake Valley Golf Course in Camden, in Missouri, is an 18-hole golf course. But what makes it different? There's 6 par 3s, 6 par 4s, and
Okay.
6 par 5s. And I love that golf course just because of those breakdown. I have never played another course in the world that has that breakdown
With the
because
same. Yeah.
most golf courses have 4 par 3s,
Mhm.
10 par 4s, and 4 par 5.
Yeah.
This is a unique golf course, and I love it because of that setup.
Fantastic. One course still on your bucket list.
Well, yeah, I got one. It's Torrey Pines in San Diego, California, North Course. I played the South Course.
Mhm.
We were getting ready to go out a few years ago. We had already signed up, got our golf cart and everything. And what normally never happens in San Diego, a tremendous Gully Washer storm just dumped on us before we could get on the course, and they closed the course. So
Wow.
I so we didn't get to play it. And now the course is so much in demand.
Yeah.
Uh, my wife and I go out to California for the summer every year, and I could not get a tee time. You must call 90 days in advance to get a tee time, and there's not even you can't even be sure you'll get it that. But we're going back to California this next year,
Mhm.
and I'm going to be calling them every day starting 90 days before we get there to get my wife and I a tee time to play the North Course, and hopefully we'll get that done. That's on my
Nice.
bucket list. Yeah.
Great. Great. Best golf movie of all time.
Oh, for me, no question. Tin Cup, Kevin Costner.
Wow. Yes. Yeah.
Have
Now
you seen
this
it?
one. Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Fully agree.
it was the best golf movie I think I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Fabulous. I could watch it again.
Now the next one is hard. It's hard.
Okay.
Best golf player of all time.
Well, I wrestled with that one. There's 3 people that I put into that list,
Mhm,
and it would be Jack Nicklaus,
mhm.
Tiger Woods, and Bobby Jones.
Right.
And I have to award Jack Nicklaus the trophy.
Right. Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you prefer walking or riding the course?
Well, Sid, I'm 81 years old. Okay. Up until the time I was in my mid 70s,
Yeah.
I used to take a hand cart and pull the cart and walk.
Yeah.
But the last 6 or 7 years, I take an electric cart and we
Mm.
normally ride. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to walk, but Father Time is kind of slowing me down.
Hmm. And Bob, when it's hot and humid, do you still play?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, if you live in St. Louis, you gotta play in hot and humid because from about June till the middle of September, we're hot and humid. That's why
But
we
it's
go to
not comfortable.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Music or silence when practicing putting?
Total silence,
Total silence.
as silent as possible.
What's always in your golf bag beside the clubs?
You know, I don't have anything special. My wife carries a flask when she plays for birdie use. So if you get a birdie, you have a little shot of Fireball whiskey.
Mhm.
Okay. The only thing I have in my golf bag is an extra glove, a bunch of fees and balls. So I don't have anything special.
Yeah. Yeah. Favorite book outside golf?
Well, that's also a good question. I was back when I was a kid. I was quite interested in history.
Mhm.
Um, the book Julius Caesar and the Roman Empire was my favorite book, and then I got into the Civil War, United States
Mhm.
history, and so I was very much interested in history. So I'd have to say, of all the books I've read, the book about Julius Caesar was my most favorite, and I read it more than once. It's kind of an interesting story, and but I love history.
And on that, if you have an opportunity to have a dinner with a historical figure, who would it be and why?
Current or in the past?
Up to you. Let's say the past.
Well, gosh, I would love to have dinner with Jack Nicklaus, and only because I talked to Jack at the AT&T Classic in Atlanta, Georgia. It was probably back 1982 or three. Ed Griffiths from Union Carbide, he was my guest, and we attended the Classic there, and I think Andy Bean won the event. But after Jack came out of the scoring tent, signed his golf card, he was kind enough to give Ed Griffin's eye some of his time. And we talked for a few minutes, and I found him so engaging and such a nice guy. I would love to have dinner with him and talk to him about how he achieved such greatness in the game.
Good. Something most people don't know about you.
Well, I'm a pretty open book, so it's I I I, I am very faith oriented in my life. Okay,
Fantastic. Yeah.
and my faith inside me runs deep, but I don't wear it on my sleeve, if you
Mhm.
know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I think having a faith in whatever you believe in, and I'm not going to try to get on a religious story here, but
Mhm.
I think having
But it's
faith
important. It's important.
is very, very important.
It's
And
important.
faith is one of the things that people don't realize how deeply it runs inside me.
Mhm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Bob, if I say Ryder Cup,
Ryder Cup.
yes.
Well,
And I will
I
not add, so I leave it to you.
I always watch the Ryder Cup,
Mhm.
and I love the Ryder Cup, and I think that I don't see it as a tournament between USA and Europe. I see it as a tournament between the USA and the rest of the world.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
because they come from Africa and Australia and whatnot, and yet I have to say the European golfers. I don't know what their ingredients is. They have always seemed, whether they win or lose, they always have more ability to create a cohesive team
Mhm.
with team spirit than the U.S. players. And I think the last two successes that the European team has had is largely to due to their team spirit, cohesiveness, and the team willingness to win together. The Americans don't have that. And the Americans, if they're going to compete with the European team in the future, they got to get that, because the American team has quality golfers just like the European team, but the European team has a sense of winning as a team, and I don't think the American team does.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think about women's game now compared
Well,
to 10 years ago?
I see that. I don't watch the LPGA tournament golf very often. My wife and I watch it occasionally,
Hmm.
but I'm seeing that the Asian women are, whether they're from Taiwan or Korea or Japan, they are very much the strength of the game now. They're very effective in the superlatives of the game,
Hmm.
and they seem to be growing to be the top realm of the game these days. And yes, we have American women and we have English women, we have European women that are involved, but I think the Asian women are aspiring to the pinnacle now, and I'm not sure what causes that, except they must practice more.
Yeah, 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 I agree with you. And lastly, Bob, a piece of advice or wisdom to our listeners on any topic.
Well, my experience has been through my life and in the game of golf, whatever the challenge is, and however the challenge presents itself, don't ever give up. Don't quit. Keep after it. Keep after it until you find the solution and win. And when you do that, you'll find the utmost satisfaction in being a human being. If you have the conviction to fight against all the odds of winning and ultimately win, there's no substitute.
Well, Bob Labbe, thank you for sharing your insights on how number structure and discipline can unlock performance. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Well, Sid, I so much appreciate you having me on the show, and it's you need to take up the game of golf.
I will.
Please read my book.
I will. I will. And to our I will. And to our listeners, I leave you today with a few words from my all-time favorite best coach, the one and only John Wooden. He once said, "It's the little details that are vital. Little things make big things happen." And today's conversation showed exactly that, how refining one overlooked part of your game can lead to a lasting improvement, not just on the course, but in life. We want to thank you for joining our show. If you enjoyed this episode, we have more for you. You can now watch the entire episode on our YouTube and Spotify channels. While you're here, subscribe and don't forget to tap the bell. Visit prezerosportstalk.com to explore more conversations on sports, leadership, faith, performance, and innovation, from Sweden to the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and make a difference. We'll see you soon. Take care.